The tension released, the classroom burst into noise and excitement. I quickly put my textbooks, notebooks, etc. in my bag, and then turned towards the hot sunlight. There stood my beloved, someone I loved so much I could swear my life to him. He turned around and a gentle smile, refreshing like the wind, appeared on his face. Kaoru. That's right. His name was Itsuka Kaoru. He was a gentle, proactive, and reliable. Maybe he was my boyfriend. Are you going home now? If so, I approached him with the let's go home thing, like a normal couple would do, but for a moment he looked troubled. His eyes hidden just behind his bangs were clouded. Sorry, Yoko. Hayase really needs me to help him with something, so I have to go to the library. He looked seriously apologetic as he told me. How should I answer him? Let's go to the library together. Well, maybe I'll go to the library too. Oh, well then let's go together, he answered brightly, and then he slowly walked over to me. I stiffened, and I could feel the blood pumping furiously throughout my body. Kaoru then whispered in my ear. Yoko, happy birthday. He grabbed my hand and then gently started putting a ring on my left ring finger. It was the twisted silver ring I had wanted for quite some time. We haven't been able to see each other a lot on weekends recently, huh? Because I was working. He looked at me with upturned eyes, blushing. Did that mean he took on a part-time job on weekends so he could buy me a birthday present? Feeling shy, I looked at the gently glittering ring on my finger. Thanks, I said from the bottom of my heart. I don't think I'd ever had such a happy birthday before now. My mother died shortly after I was born, and my father passed away from cancer a few days before my 4th birthday, so I live with my grandmother. And she passed away several years ago as well. These days, I lived in an apartment by myself, surviving off the little money my father left me. For the last few days, I'd been dreaming about what might happen on my birthday, but I never imagined I'd get a present as nice as this. I looked at Kaoru with tears in my eyes, my heart full of happiness and gratitude. He scooped up the ring glittering by my chest and said in a sweet voice, Yoko, I don't suppose I could get this ring on the chain in exchange. I hesitated for a moment at those words. This ring was the engagement ring my parents had exchanged. It was very important, a memento my father left for me. Refuse. When I looked at the sweet, coaxing look on his face, I was unable to resist him. My feelings for him were real. I wanted to share my past with him too. But this alone was different. Kaoru was very important to me, but this ring was also important, full of the feelings that my parents had for each other. I'm sorry. This is the one thing I can't give you, I said, my voice choked up. Although it wasn't my intention, the inner corner of my eye grew warmer. Oh yeah, this was a memento, wasn't it? Sorry, Yoko. Don't worry about it. Kaoru lowered his head in apology. As I looked at him, I prayed the day would come where I could give this to him without hesitation. Yoko, have you heard what all the girls have been talking about recently? What have they been talking about? What could it be? Was it the crepe shop that opened recently? Or were they talking about me? What are they saying? His head down, his hands hung before his chest. They say it's haunted here. Haunted? You mean a ghost? Kaoru loved these types of stories. Not just ghosts, but ancient ruins, mysteries from all over the world, supernatural phenomena, etc. And he was incredibly susceptible to riddles and mysteries too, like his eyes would start sparkling. I thought it was cute, and I loved how frank and innocent he was about it. I just heard from one of the girls that there's a ghost in a school uniform on the 3rd floor stairs. Don't tell me. It's a ghost story set on the stairs. Seemed I was right on the money. But what if I told you that it was the student committee leader Hayase who saw it? Eh? Hayase-kun? I couldn't believe what he said quite so easily. Hayase Takashi. He was nominated as the student committee leader even though he was only in the 2nd grade and was voted in right after school started. And everyone knew he was a genius who ranked in the 72nd percentile. He didn't believe in UFOs or anything supernatural like that. He explained things through science and reason, so for him to truly believe in a ghost was an unbelievable story. To tell you the truth, the reason he asked me to join him in the library is because he really wants to uncover the truth behind the ghost. We walked down the hall and then climbed the stairs to arrive at the rumoured 3rd floor. Apparently, the ghost is at the top of these stairs. Putting what he said behind me, I looked out the hallway window to the garden outside. There was nobody there. And yet, I could see the reflection of a girl in the water of the fountain. She looked up at me, and a faint smile appeared on her pale face. I turned around in surprise at the noise, and the floor was covered in water and broken flower vase pieces. What happened? No, I don't know either. Kaoru seemed frightened by something, and he just stared at the water on the floor. I started picking up the broken pieces and, taking out a tissue, wiped the floor clean. Are you okay? I asked him, but he just stared at me with a frozen look on his face. After a while, he realized I was also looking at him, and then he smiled again like he always did. At any rate, let's go to the library. But that girl is intriguing. I was curious about the smile on that girl in the water's face. I felt like I'd seen her somewhere before. Ow! A pain shot through my finger. I looked down and blood dripped from my fingertip. Seemed I'd cut it on a piece of the broken flower vase. Kaoru's expression changed and he told me to show it to him before pressing his lips to it. An indescribable ecstasy filled me. It's okay now. I returned to my senses, but that was the only thing I could manage to spit out. You should go to the nurse's office and get that fixed up. I'll be waiting for you here, Kaoru said with a smile, and then disappeared into the library. I remained on the spot for a moment, and then made my way towards the nurse's office. As I descended the stairs, I couldn't stop thinking about that girl I'd just seen. Maybe I was just tired, but I really did see a girl reflected in that water. a band-aid out of my bag and wrapped it around my finger before realizing I was standing in front of that fountain. Being after school hours, it was faintly dark and nobody was there. I stole a glance into the water. As I stared at the ripples, something swelled deep within me. Now I could see myself reflected on the water's surface. I wanted to spend as much time as possible with Kaoru, but now here I stood, alone. But strangely, there was no swelling of emotions within me. A calm feeling, even more calm than the water before me, spread throughout my body. "And are you okay with that?" I jumped at the sudden voice and looked around. But there was nobody there but me. "Who's there?" I asked, almost whispering. But the only reply was the sound of the fountain in front of me. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Laughter that broke the silence came from somewhere nearby. I realized the voice was coming from the reflection in the water. From me. No, maybe it wasn't me. The girl was wearing a regular uniform, not a blazer, and a faint smile creeped onto her lips. Then she stood, as though floating out of the water. Her face was pale, as though drained of all the blood, and she was the spitting image of me, like looking in a mirror. You can't trust anyone. Her white lips lifted into a cruel smile. I was unable to hide my shock at this sudden happening, but I was curious about her profound statement. "What are you trying to say?" After taking a deep breath, she spoke in a cold tone. "No matter how much you trust someone, they are still weak creatures who will always betray you. Even your beloved Kaoru-kun. In the end, people always think of themselves as the most dear, and they have no problem betraying those they love if it means they can gain new pleasures, money, status, or power." "What do you mean?" My tone harshened at her words, entirely unlike me. "Do you really trust Kaoru-kun from the bottom of your heart?" "Eh?" "The truth always lies somewhere else, don't you think, Yoko?" "How do you know my... Who are you?" "I'm Mariko, your..." As she spoke, she showed the pale back of her delicate left hand. On her pinky finger was a beautifully sparkling ring. For a moment, I was confused. That sparkling ring on her finger looked just like the other half of the memento engagement ring my father had. "There's no... Are you my mother?" I dismissed the burning question that I almost spat out. "Why don't you go on to the library? The truth always lies somewhere else," she said, and then pointed at the water. Then something else appeared in it. It seemed to be the inside of the library. Hayase-kun and another male student I didn't know were standing there. They seemed to be looking down at someone. Who? A girl in a blazer. She was tied up. Then the unknown student violently tore open the buttons on her blazer one by one. What is this? Then I realized something. The girl tied up was me. "Yes, this is reality," she said, and when she pointed at the water again, the scene disappeared. "You think I can believe you just like that?" I spat out harshly. It was beyond unreal. Did she really think Kaoru would guide me to... That's right. The woman nodded, as though she could read my thoughts. There's no way. I wonder, does he really need to work so much that he can't see you in order to buy a ring like that? Numerous thoughts whirled and battled inside me. Supposing that he hasn't told you everything. She purposefully didn't finish the sentence. I couldn't stand it any longer, but I also wanted to hear more. She continued. In the end, all we have are ourselves. You can believe in others. They can believe in you. But in the end, all you have is yourself. In the end, only you can make decisions and then act upon them. Don't forget that, okay? My mother, Mariko, said, and then she disappeared back into the water. Then the reflection in the water was once again me wearing my blazer. What was it that my mother wanted to say? What was it that I could do right now? I looked back and came to only one conclusion. I had to face facts and ascertain the reality of the situation. That was the only thing I could do right now. I'll wait. I'll wait for Kaoru, I muttered as though in answer. All I could do was believe in Kaoru and wait for him. I see, my mother Mariko said sadly, and I closed my eyes. Goodbye, Mother. When I opened my eyes again, she was gone. I started walking, then waited by the front gate for Kaoru. How much time passed? Kaoru finally appeared, his face covered in injuries. The man I loved so much I could swear my entire life to him stood before me. Kaoru. He was always so positive, reliable and kind. He staggered towards me on unsteady legs. His cold eyes looked at me. And this was also reality, I thought as I bit my lip. Don't talk to me anymore. They were words I never expected to come out of his mouth. I was unable to speak. All I could do was stand there. You can't be with me. Large tears formed in my eyes at his pained voice. But he didn't even look at them. He just kept walking through the gate and then left. I just watched him leave. I had no idea what had happened, but I believe in you. That's what I should have said, but I'd be able to tell him that sometime. That was what I believed.